All right, YouTube. So we're going to go ahead and move on. Community stability and safety. Crime and poverty are on the rise. Everything from theft to drug use is impacting the pocket. Oh, we read this one already, so moving on to local business, actually. Local business. Santa Cruz is experiencing an influx of multinational million-dollar corporate establishments. Very true. Santa Cruz's local business is seen as the most. Santa Cruz's local business scene is one of the many attractions that makes Santa Cruz one of the most iconic cities in California. I'm going to go ahead and one-up them. Santa Cruz is the greatest city in the world, and nobody's going to dispute that because this is a beautiful city. And I want to, basically raise awareness because we have democratic socialists moving into Santa Cruz that want to destroy our sovereignty. And they can go ahead and talk about, preserving the Santa Cruz city identity, but they're not really interested in that, in my humble opinion. These corporate businesses put little money back into our town because they don't pay a lot of taxes, I'm sure, and then they punish the consumers, which is total bullshit, and outsource revenue to their millionaire and billionaire CEOs and owners who don't live or contribute to our community. Very true, and this is a big problem. We must preserve local business and the economy here at home. As a city council member, I will advocate for local businesses over corporate business. That's awesome. Because as we know, there's a lot of small businesses, mom and pop shops, they're going out of business, due to, Walmart and all that. But here's the thing. You have to look at it this way. You can only do so much to influence where people buy. And I think this is I don't know if this is where he's going with this, but people go to Walmart for a reason. They go to Walmart because it's affordable, and obviously that's going to squeeze out the mom and pop shops, but I just don't. When I hear government talk about trying to intervene with the private sector, like Trump has been doing. I mean, he's been doing a good job, but he's walking a fine line because he's borderline Marxist in that regard. When you start to talk about centrally planned economies, that is, that's socialism. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Anyways. Homelessness. Too many people in Santa Cruz are without housing. The increase in short-term vacation rentals has not only reduced the housing supply in Santa Cruz, but has also contributed to the increase in permanent and rental housing costs. As the cost of housing continues to increase and affordable housing supply decreases, the homelessness in our city will only be exasperated. I know that word. Banning homeless people from sleeping on the streets is not a solution, and the ban should be repealed. Okay. This is a problem because essentially what you're doing here is you're trying to normalize homelessness, and homelessness is not something to be. It's not something to be proud of. It's not something to be lauded or anything like that or applauded. So banning homeless people from sleeping on the streets, maybe someone can change my mind, but I don't see anything wrong with it. I really don't. I just want to have a clean city, as most Santa Cruzians do. And then it's funny because when the problem gets to their fucking neighborhood, they're like, "Oh yeah, we got to do something about homelessness." So bear in mind when these homeless people they migrate up to the Upper West Side here in Santa Cruz, which they eventually will. Trust me, believe me, they will. These people are going to start crying. They're literally going to start crying for a homeless ban on the streets, or homeless people sleeping on the street ban. Because it's all about NIMBYism. Not in my backyard, as George Carlin said. Anyways, moving on. As a city council member, I will advocate for more funding and more taxing and availability of services for the homelessness. Big red flag. Existing services such as the homeless service center, and the warming shelter must be fully funded to reflect the extent of the ongoing shelter crisis. So in other words, let's go ahead and continue to tax the shit out of the working class, take their money and allocate it to the government, and continue to fund these social programs which aren't working, by the way. Sustainability. One of the biggest tenets in our community is environmental. Oh my God, here we go. Agenda 21 speak. Environmentalism. Talking about green and smart and then all this bullshit. Smart meters and green. Go green. One of the strongest tenets of our community is environmentalism. Our city must get creative and innovative in its policies on sustainability. As someone whose entire educational and professional career has been about environmental conservation and sustainability, I have the knowledge and the experience needed to advocate for these values on our city council. So one of the guys, not a lot of people know this, there's a man called Maurice Strong, who was working with the United Nations, big godfather of the idea of Agenda 21, destroying the environment as environmentalism. Maurice Strong was this big oil tycoon, and he basically got in bed with the UN. Kind of did some hand jobs, basically. Got them to kind of see things his way. And basically what this does is it punishes the small business. They essentially impose all these burdensome regulations on them that only hurt the small businesses, because the bigger businesses, the corporations in other words, they have unlimited funds. They have unlimited funds, especially from their position. They can just basically, go to the bank and say, hey, look, I need this much money. All right, there you go. Yeah, you're good for it. You're a business. You're a big business, so we can totally front you for it. And that's the way it works. Although we can't exclude the development of the market rate in luxury housing. Very true. Very true. We need to make sure that we first provide affordable housing for our most vulnerable, and then promote the construction of a market rate in luxury housing that is the forefront of the green industry. So, look, this is what I'm reading so far, that, essentially we need more government oversight. I agree that we need more government oversight, but in a way to punish the big corporations, not to punish the small businesses. Gary Arnold, he's a resident here in Santa Cruz, California. He ran against Jimmy Panetta in 1980 as a Republican here for the Santa Cruz congressional seat. He lost, and part of the reason why he lost was because he was insulting Reagan. He actually went to the White House. Gary Arnold went to the White House and was heckling Ronald Reagan. He was like, oh yeah, your tax cuts, they're not really a tax cut, it's just a major tax increase. So what you're doing is you're lying to the American people, and Reagan told him to shut up. But the thing is that what Gary Arnold said was that, I like what Reagan says, and this is kind of what I'm saying. I like what Justin Cummings is saying. He's obviously a very personable guy, but it's what he's doing that I'm in such, desperate disagreement with. I just look at it like, look, right off the bat, when you say democratic socialist, that scares a lot of people. I mean, that might appease your corporate masters, your corporate overlords, but in reality, the average person, they hear that shit, they think about, bumbling Ocasio-Cortez. Oh, I think that, that bitch. Anyways, I'm getting a little unhinged here. That was a pretty good take. I'm going to end it on that. Thanks for watching, guys. God bless, and I'll see you later. Peace out.